Hello. Hi, Jamie.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm peachy. Just came
Peachy.
from banging my head against a iPad screen working on continuing education.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, Jamie and I are here today because we are hosting. Notice Jamie's title is given herself the title of sidekick, but we're doing a laugh and learn specifically about Orisha.
Mhm.
And my fabulous guest who's backstage, I'm taunting you, I'm making you wait because that's the way I am. All of her links are below. So so that's cool. And so this is Jamie, Wandering Mountain Bardic Path. You all
Howdy
know
ho.
Jamie. And let's say hi to some people. And Ange was first in a couple of days ago, actually. And then we have Mr. Elemental Cartomancy himself, Chris, who is very excited for this, as am I.
Mhm.
I was saying backstage, I'm like, I am so excited about this. I'm just so excited. I just want this to be perfect. And Jamie is like going, just breathe. You're
Yeah,
fine. It's like, okay.
yeah, yeah.
And Jonathan is here. Jonathan, hello. Linda de Gonzalez, hello. Yeah, never. I know, I know.
Mhm.
Lisa is here. Hello, Lisa.
Hey.
Kindness and light. That would be Lisa Rhodes. Hello, Lisa. And okay, just getting caught up. Pia's life is here. Hello, Pia.
Hi,
Good to
Pia.
see you. I hope Pia is your first name. I never know. So,
Mhm.
Gomez Adams is here. Hello, Gomez. Good to see you. And I love it. Lisa is like, hello, everybody today. So
Mhm.
love
Cheers.
that. And yeah, oh, cheers. Kathy, Tortoiseshell Moon is here. Hello.
Mm.
So I have to rearrange my water and my coffee. So
Well, you better figure that stuff out.
you know, Vanessa S is here. Hello, Vanessa. You
Mhm.
made it on time. Yes. And Pamela is here. Pamela Bachelor. I have
Mhm.
actually not seen the notice pop. So oh,
I wasn't paying attention, so I don't know if I have or
Penny.
haven't. Oh, Penny.
What do you want to
Oh,
be called?
hmm. No,
Because
I just like the knowing the ins and outs of why.
oh sure. And Linda Kelzer is here. Hello. And you're welcome. I will when I'm good and ready, Chris. Making you wait. So Pamela Bachelor's here. And I think I said hello to Linda. So I will actually share before Amana comes on is my first introduction to Orisha was actually in my coven. This is our coven deck, the Goddess Tarot
Mhm.
by Chris Waldher. And there is a particular goddess in here, Yamana. And so this is number 14, balance. And
Mhm.
this was my first introduction.
Nice.
And so I was very curious and I was doing some reading up and all of that stuff. It's just very cool. But then I also have a good friend of mine who is very aware of Orisha and works with them regularly. And when I was doing some readings for her, Jamie, as sometimes happens to me,
Hmm.
I was speaking with particular deity, and lo and behold, some of them were Orisha. So it's really nice. And Pia said either, but don't call me late for a live. Okay, Penny.
Okay.
Foresight is here. Hello. Lynn Hayes is here. Hello. Oh, and Lisa has that deck as well. Do you have this deck?
I do not. If
Okay.
I did, I would cut it down and I would tell you send that to me and I'm going to cut the crap out of it for you.
I would totally cut it down as well, but it's the one that we use in the coven. So
Mhm.
So, Peter J. Watts is here. Hello.
Hello, Twizzler.
And Beth is here, Aspasia Rising. So, and so today we're talking to Amina about Orisha, and Amina is the creator of this amazing deck, which you can find out about right here. I'm not using my tiny hands.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the website. So the website is there. And I actually have been stalking her for a while.
Same.
Because I saw her on Amber Lavender Moon's channel, and then Ange.
Yeah, and I never saw her on Lavender Moon. I saw her on Ange's channel.
Yeah, I've gone back and I've watched them. So, and then Jonathan had her on, and then Jonathan had her on, and they were doing readings with the deck.
Correct.
So, and so that's where we first actually, you and I, oh, well, here, let me bring her onto the screen. I'm going to put you right in the center. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Do I sound okay?
You sound perfect, and you look great.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And do you have something to drink?
Oh yeah, I have something to drink. Thanks.
Good. Well, I was just explaining to everybody how I came to know Orisha, and that I have been stalking you online because I saw you on Amber's channel. I saw you on Ange's and Jonathan's channel, and Queen Aset.
Yeah.
And you're so okay. I'm going to gush in your general direction. Is that okay? I'm going to heap praise in your general direction.
Sure, go for it.
You are very kind, and you make it okay for people to ask any question about anything related to Orisha.
Of course. Yeah.
So I love it. She's just like, well, of course. It's like, well, not everybody.
It's a reflection of my teachers, isn't it? Because you're always a reflection of where you come from and the teachers and the general, the West African culture is actually a very welcoming culture.
Yes.
There wasn't really any xenophobia, as it were, that we know of, that the human condition know of, about people just wanting to be by themselves, no outsiders allowed, until maybe the 20th century, maybe the 19th century, with the advent of colonialism. But if you look at West African culture, which I can speak on very, very freely, because that's where my ethnicity comes from, we're actually very welcoming to strangers, and you do welcome questions. So that's where that really.
And so I'm just affirming you do that, and you do that very well, and you make it a safe space. So thank you.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, that's really the way the tradition is supposed to be.
Yes. Oh, I get it. Julie Kusha Watts is here, and I know Julie is.
Hi, Julie. I've been long time.
Yeah. And I know Julie is a huge impact on you for the creation of this deck. This deck, the information about purchasing this deck is listed below. Purchase responsibly. There you go. I'm just gonna say that. But
thank you.
You're welcome. Because okay, so Jamie and I were watching your live with Jonathan Daly, and we each got a reading from you. And I will be honest with you, I wasn't going to purchase the deck because it was a bit pricey. But and full disclosure, I do have some experience with Orisha in some of my spiritual experience, and I am a collector of books about different Orisha.
Okay.
So, and so I am. So I have some personal experience. I'll stop talking now. That's far too much. But when you did this reading for me and Jamie, do you want to tell your first, because Jamie and I were texting and we're like, oh, I like this deck because I've seen it. It's gorgeous, people.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
Now, I wasn't drawn. I won't say that I was drawn to the deck. I was drawn to you and your energy and what you had to say that the deck had to say.
Right.
So when I was given my reading between the two of you, it was one of those, my hair is long, but my hair stood on end. And I went, holy crap, somebody's talking to me, right? And so I was, the card that you drew for me.
Yellow Day. Mm-hmm.
And then the card that Jonathan drew for me.
Yep.
And it was just really super amazingly powerful that I said to Gerald, I'm like, okay, somebody's talking to me here and I need to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started investigating everything I could about Orisha.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. That's the reason why I'm here. That's why I created this oracle deck. Because imagine me having that same experience when I had my first tarot reading, specifically when I came across Julie's work. Exactly what you just described was that same feeling. Hi, exactly what you just said, Jamie. Like somebody's talking to me here. I don't know what it is, but something is there. And then being from a completely different culture, and I'm like, I don't know anything about tarot. I don't know anything about this world. But from the age of probably 16, for my first tarot reading, I knew something was talking to me, just like you said. And I used it as a tool. And then when I merged my culture and I started looking at, the archetypes in the tarot, in the Western spiritualist, community, and everything we know about the maiden, mother, and crone, about, the forces of nature. And I started like comparing it to the West Africa. I was like, oh, this is the same thing.
Yes.
So that's the reason why I created the deck, is for us basically in this community to say, yeah, something is speaking to us, and that thing is the one, and it's all one.
Well, see, exactly, because I sat down today before connecting with Gerald and then, subsequently with you, and I went through your document of pronunciation, right, and everything, and I wanted to honor each. I know this isn't like specifically about the deck, but I wanted to honor the fact that we were going to be sitting in a place with you, and I went through each card and I said their names out loud. Right. And as I was sitting there, I had the same thing happen to me when this card was pulled. So now I'm going to have to sit in contemplation over that, because this card speaks to me even louder than the other two.
That's really interesting. And the backstory about that card is that's actually me when I was 6.
Oh wow.
And what's even sadder is that's one of the only pictures that I have of myself when I was a child, because I had a very chaotic childhood, because I moved countries. I wasn't raised with my parents. Went to a boarding school. So that was me at that age that was one of the pictures that I found of myself when I was I must have been 6 or 7, and I was remembering that chaos that was going on around me, and I had this inner, everything was just really chaotic. And it wasn't until I was 16 when I found the spiritual community. That's when that balance, that's when that sitting in that yogic position and being in control of that chaos started. So that's actually the feeling behind that.
So, okay. So I will stop Gerald here in a second, but okay, this is the...
No, don't stop, Jamie.
This is the amazing thing. Okay. When I was 6 years old, I lived in the Philippines. My best friend that lived across the street in this gated, guarded community, her name was Roxanne. And when I saw this card, that's who I saw was Roxanne. And so it's like, holy cow, right? And her dad is in this deck as well.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
that's really that's what that card symbolizes, the accumulation of the knowledge. And even there's a quote on there, like even in failure, because I remember I ran across a quote by is it Toni Morrison?
Yes.
Is that
It's
quote
Toni
in the
Morrison.
guidebook, right? Because I
Yep.
remember that quote was so powerful. I was like, this is the quote. I'm telling you, these things will find me. She said, even in failure, there's information that is needed, even in failure. See, my culture, I come from a very middle class, Nigerian background. It's like school is promoted. You have to be perfect, perfection, because they got that from the British, you see, because that's a very British thing. So failure was not an option the way that I was raised. So every time I would fail at something, I would see it as there was something fundamentally wrong with me. So that card, I had to tap into that feeling of even that failure that you experience and the chaos you experience growing up. There's information there for you to learn, because you had to learn to master all those things.
Yeah.
When you master all those experiences, that's when you tap into nature herself.
I love that.
And she's sitting on a lotus. She's sitting on water.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be water. She's sitting on water and she's not sinking because she's able to master her emotions. Because that card is deep. That card is really deep.
Yeah, very much so. I love it.
That's why I went, Gerald. That's why I went. It goes beyond. It is Orisha, because that's what Orisha is about. Orisha is about layers. It's about self-knowledge. It's about tapping into yourself and then learning about yourself through nature, because that's who they are, right?
Yes, very much.
Absolutely.
And that's, and one of the goals that I have for today is I want people to learn some of the basic, I have banners. I want people to learn what some of the key words. And I would like you to share your experiences learning about Orisha, and some of the benefits of the traditions that you found most beneficial. But this is a really important thing. How would you encourage people to get to know Orisha and honor them respectfully? Because, and I'm getting emotional about this, and I'm not sure why, but my own experience is when I have been touched and honored by having awareness of them in my life, and I'm authentic and kind, they are that to me, and so warm and embracing, because it's just like what you said, it's very welcoming. It's like, wow. And that's, for me, it's really important, to always be respectful. Okay. I don't know if you saw, but Orisha and her energy is so ancient, and Aminat brings her to life in a very real way.
Thank you, Peter.
Yes. And
Can I
Julie,
ask a question?
bumps. Yes.
Is your name Amina? Okay,
it's both. It's both, because it's the Arabic. My family were, Muslim, because that West African influence, Muslim influence. So the actual Arabic pronunciation is Amina. But then in West Africa, we have our own variation, which I'm going to touch into when you go into Orisha, and how it there's variation in the diaspora. So the name is Amina, right? But in West Africa, the variation is Aminat. So it's both. So when I have clients, like I just left my client now, she's Arabic. When they see my name, she's Arab. They automatically call me Amina, because that's their language, right? But everybody else, when it's pronounced the way it's spelled. So it's really both. I don't mind.
Well, and I will say, my experience has been, there are different pronunciations of the Orisha based upon the point of origin.
Exactly.
Okay. And so this would be a good time. Would you be able to give us some, like, what does the word Orisha mean, and maybe some keywords?
Yeah, in and of itself, the word Orisha, when you break it down, the language Yoruba is a very ancient language. It's actually on the same level as Latin. So because of this lack of attention and education to anything that has been, especially in parts of Africa, people are not aware, and even the people that live there are not aware how complex their own language is. So the word Orisha is a very, very ancient term. If you break it into two, the elders have said, the first three letters, Ori is the head. So in West African spiritual belief, our spiritual head, you know, the physical head, there is a manifestation of that physical head in the spirit realm, in the invisible realm, you know, as above, so below. Before you manifested into your body as, you know, Gerald, you had a spiritual form, and that form was pure light.
Yeah.
And what we call that form, and it's part of your soul, is part of your, you know, your higher self, right? And so we call that form Ori. So in Orisha, it means Orisha. So it means the heads that have been selected, the spiritual heads that have been selected. So who were they selected by? Because Orisha is not the highest, you know, forces in the spirituality of West Africa. There is a creator. There is a creator deity, like in Judaic, in Christianity, and in Islam. So our creator deity is called Olodumare. So that's the creator deity that doesn't have a form and doesn't have a sex or whatever, that then created Orisha. So that's why they're named Orisha, because they are the heads, the specially selected spiritual heads that have been selected to come down on this physical realm. So that's like the short form of what Orisha is. But because the language is so complex, you can't really condense it to say it means this. Right. But if we break those two words down, is Ori, head, Sa, it means selected.
And I'm going to jump into some information that may not be appropriate. Is this like when someone is crowned?
That's part of it. It is actually very appropriate, because that's where that crowning comes from. Even when you look at the British monarchy, like I'm in England, right? So if there's a saying in my culture that says that it is the head that wears the crown. When you want to, let's say if the, you know, queen wanted to give you a title right now, it's going to go to the head. She's going to like put the thing on the head or whatever. So that shows you that the head, the physical head of the humans, has been a very important thing. So that's where that crowning idea comes from in the Lukumi and the Santeria, because that really means initiation, and that ties into, and that initiation really is that physical rituals that's going to connect you back to that spiritual head.
Yes. Yes.
It is very appropriate. It is actually connected.
Okay. You know, in my, again, very high level research, the Yoruban language is in sections, exactly. Like, you know, and so that's how it builds. Now, I remember at one point I was actually, maybe it was during Jonathan's live, I asked you if the word ashe was appropriate.
Yeah, it is. Of course, it is.
Okay. Would you tell people what that means? So
ashe, I think, but you spell it differently. Like the Lukumi and the Santeria derivative, they spell it like a different. So we spell it ASE. So ashe. So again, that's very similar to Orisha. It's very, I can't just say it means this. So ashe is in a condensed form. It's the life force that is in all of us, that is in inanimate objects. It is the life force that makes rivers flow. It is the life force. It is that intelligence of the universe, that when you look up in the sky, how are the birds able to follow themselves in a pattern that is very, very unique to them without them using words like us? So Ashe is that mysterious light force that flows through the universe. And it's so powerful that when someone says, in our culture, when someone says a prayer for you, or if they say something in an affirmative and a positive manner, you want to say Ashe at the end, because you're saying, I'm affirming what you just said, and I'm using the life force of the universe to push that prayer into manifestation.
I love that.
It's a very, very, you see how complex it is, and that's just like a one word.
Yeah. You know, and it's one of those things, in my own experience, when I first heard that said, I was like going, you know, I'm noticing that huge surge of that that energy. And I'm like going, what did you just do?
Yeah,
Yes.
it feels like right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is it. See, and that's what Orisha. So, because when I was looking at your questions and you said, you know, how do I explain, and you know, to kind of put, you know, the practice into words, it's like, you know, you have to go back and sit to how their ancestors felt when they had that feeling you just had, that feeling of being connected to nature, because that's all they really did. That's what the Orisha practice really came out of, is that their interaction with spirit, their interaction with nature, that feeling you just had, the feeling when somebody said that word Ashe, that feeling you had, and then they would then put that feeling into words and into practice. So I was thinking about that, like, how do I explain what this tradition really is about? Because it really is about your interaction with nature, because that's what Orishas are. They're forces of nature.
I have to figure that that's the reason why I feel so connected to it, other than powerful words coming from someone that actually practices, right, fully, is the fact that most of my things are outside in nature, out. That's where my spirituality is out. So
yeah, that's what all indigenous people, there's nothing unusual about West African worship practice. Is if you look at all indigenous people across the board, if you look at their spirituality, you're gonna see the similarities. And that's why it was so easy for me to conceptualize the deck, because I'm like, this is the one, this is the same thing. Everybody's basically practicing the same thing, but we just speak different languages, we have different colors, and we come from different areas of the world.
Right.
Yes. And there is a sense of, this is my experience, there is a sense of joy about every aspect that that I have seen Orisha provide. And it goes back to that, even in failure, there's lessons. There's a sense of joy. There are tricksters, and they love doing it because
they love doing it because they have to teach you a lesson.
Yes, yes, very much so.
Yeah.
So,
but see, I feel community. That's what I feel.
Yeah, because I think, and if everybody will agree, that's really what I think. Whatever this grand designer that designed spirituality and this universe, that's why we manifested in this physical form. Like, we had to learn community, because human beings, when you think about it, we're very selfish by nature. If you watch kids, you know, kids have to be taught to like share. They have to be taught to like, you know, because they mine. I think that's what spirituality really is about. Whatever the grand architect, like, you know, the elders say, I feel as if that's what the intention really is with all the spiritualities that we practice. Because if you look at each and every one of them, community is always at the center. And West African Orisha practice is no different.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but Joe said Aminat is a rock star.
Thank you.
A rock star. And if people have questions, please type them all in caps. And Jamie, I think we'll be right back, or I hope. I have no idea where she went. Come back, Jamie. Come back. Anyhow, okay. So, are there other keywords that people, as they're getting to know Orisha, should know about?
Other keywords. I mean, that's really it, you know, Orisha. And then when you want to get into the specific ones, and Ashe. So, because those are the words that you're going to see repeat. You know, those are the main. If I can think of any, I'll, you know, other than just getting into it. Yeah. Other than get into the main ones.
Yeah. And I just, I mean, and in the guidebook for this, you give symbolism and the messages, and it's like, okay, Olokun, one that you pulled for me, you know, primordial Orisha, appearing in both masculine and feminine forms, and it's just like, that's other, I would say, another aspect. There's just like, I'm getting so excited. I'm talking really fast. I also, there are, one Orisha could have multiple aspects and multiple faces, like the
Exactly.
3 faces that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I'm going to remove that. Could you share how you learned about Orisha?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because, like I said, growing up, I grew up in a very middle class. Now, with a little bit of the back history, you know, this tradition has had the same experiences with colonization, just like the Native Americans in the U.S. have.
Okay.
You know how back when they had interactions with the Europeans, the United States government decided to start suppressing their spirituality, and it was even made a crime if you practice. You had to change your name. It wasn't of that level in Nigeria. It was more so of an influence. So when the colonial era started in West Africa, it was encouraged to say the people who were practicing this spirituality, they introduced these other Western religions to say, look, this stuff you're practicing is actually from the dark ages. Go ahead and abandon it because you want to be educated, you want to speak English, come into the light, as it were, right? So the history, so the reason why I'm giving you that backstory is because, so when you come from like a middle class, your Yoruba family, a Nigerian family, whatever ethnic group you're from, is actually frowned upon for you to practice what they call the old religion. So therefore, I grew up not really knowing any deep connections. The only thing I knew about the old religion was when you will watch TV, they will portray the religion as something bad. This is from our own people. This is what happens through human beings. So it wasn't, like I said, when I was like 6, 7, I've always had dreams. So that chaotic environment that I grew up in, boarding schools, and all this religious stuff they were teaching me, I knew from a very young age it didn't make any sense. I knew from age 5. I was like, what you guys are saying to me doesn't make sense. How can this God and then the devil, and they will put so much fear in you? It just didn't make sense to me. It wasn't until I discovered spirituality, tarot, crystals, energies when I was 16 that things started to click for me. I've always been, to answer your question, I've always been kind of connected to the Orisha culture. But then when I met Card 8, my godfather on Card 8, that's who was my first teacher. And that was the person that actually lifted the veil, as it were, to say, okay, this is what this tradition really is about. What you've been consuming and seeing on TV and what you've heard about it is actually not true.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was really my first, my first teacher. And we call our teachers when they're male in Yoruba, ba. And I think that in Indians, in Hindu, I think they use that as well. I think they use Baba as which means father, right? Because you asked me a question about some keywords. I think some keywords would be Baba, which is father, Iya, which is mother, and Ori, which is head. So you're going to see those words, repeat. So that was basically my first official introduction into, when it comes to learning the interaction, I interact with them through dreams. And then I've always kept and the funny thing is, I've always kept my dreams private ever since I was little, because when I would voice them when I was little, the people around me would be like, something is wrong, let's take her to church, right? And that never worked. So when I learned from my godfather, Card 8, that is the key feature in a person that's a practicing Orisha person, is dream work. So they do dream work. So when it doesn't matter how old you are, when you have a dream and you go to your teacher and said, look, I had this dream last night, it was this, and this, they actually take you seriously. And the ceremony, and they sit down and they do the divination on it, and they actually do an investigation into your dreams. And then the results comes out to say, okay, this is what is being said, this is who was talking, blah, blah, blah. So that was my first.
That's amazing.
That's my first.
I love that. Ms. Tarot D, I have your question highlighted. So is that investigation? Is that through forms of divination? Is it through a
Yes.
misa, or is it something
Yeah.
else, or all of
So
that?
card 16. So in Orisha culture, there are two forms of divination: physical divination. We do have dream work. Like I said, we have like mediums as well. Water gazing. Some people even use mirrors. But the official divination, there's two of them. There's card 16. So that's Eri Dilogun, and that long word just means 16. 16. And that the divination consists of 16 cowries, right? And that's how, and those cowries and the way in which you throw them, you know, it will elicit verses that has been memorized by the priest or priestesses, and then they would then give the message. The other divination is Ifa. So that's card 8, right? So he was an Ifa priest. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard about Ifa because he's like everywhere now, right? So when people think about West African Orisha practice, the first thing they will come across is Ifa, because that's like somebody just said a rock star. That's like the rock star of the Orisha community is the Ifa, the divination system, but it's not the only the divination system. So that consists of using a chain. So I didn't illustrate the chain on here because the message I got to design this was like a different, but the Ifa tool is a chain, and depending on how the chain is thrown and what signs come up, again, the verses are chanted and then the messages are given. So those are the two. So when we talk about investigation, that's where the science part of, you know, Orisha practice comes out, because you do have to do an official investigation into whatever feeling you have, whatever dream you've had, or whatever the situation that you're facing.
Yeah.
And also through those two forms of divination, that's when you encounter the Orishas. So let's say for you, let's say if Olokun card 39, the one you just pulled, let's say you had a dream about water and you didn't understand and something was going on. And let's say, Gerald, Olokun was your ruling Orisha. Like that's the Orisha that's the closest to you. So you went for the divination and he just did his thing. And then Olokun, the verse for Olokun then comes up. So then what happens is we will say Olokun will start to speak to you. So that's when you get that one-on-one experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's very much, it feels very much like a build up. You are building relationships with. There's always support, and there may be an overarching Orisha or you know, your head.
Yes.
But all are available to support you in their own way.
Exactly. And it's through the divination that you're going to find out. That's exactly how it is. And that's why back in the day, even now in different communities, because they are, you know, communities, Gerald, you know, like the Lukumi, they will have a community, they will have a gathering almost every month. And then during that gathering, there's always going to be a community divination being done.
Yes. Yes. Ms. Taro D asked, so I'm sorry I was late. And I have the Terra of the Orisha, and is this the same deck you're using? No, it's something different. It's all of the links are below, and I think Jonathan also answered. I also have the he said, because my Santorio friends had some issues with that deck that I bought. I have both of those decks. And just like with anything, there's variations of information. Some of it is more accurate than others.
Right.
And I'm you know, for entertainment purposes only, you do you. You find what works for you, what connects you to deity.
I mean, think of, I don't want to say accuracy because people get offended really, really quickly in this community. Trust me, I know my people in my community, right? So I don't want to say my deck is more accurate or this one is more accurate because it's from West Africa. Think about Christianity, right?
Yes.
You know, when Christianity came out of the Middle East, Jerusalem, it was a small cult, literally a small group of people. From what I can gather, because I was doing some research on Christianity the other day. I don't know why I always do this, but anyways, I was watching this lady. She's really good. So I was watching. She was like a professor, PhD in Christian studies, and it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Constantinople, or is it Constantine, who then decided to take the flag of Christianity, right? Because when Rome took over Christianity, isn't that when it really started to become big? And that's when the Roman Catholic established their stuff, and now you have the Vatican. But you still have, you have the variations, like the different variations of Christianity, like what's the variation that doesn't think
Episcopalian, Baptist,
Lutheran.
Baptists don't really
Catholicism,
think like the Pope is their leader. But if you speak to like a Catholic, the Anglicans really don't think that the Vatican is there. So it's like you have this religion, this overarching religion, and you have different sects.
Right.
But they all have a core belief. They all have a core belief in Christ. They all have a core belief in Mary, and they all know. So even if it's Santero, even if it's Lukumi, you will find the variations of the information, like Jared just said. It's going to be the variation, just like Christianity. But what we know is that the umbrella for the Orisha tradition started in West Africa.
Yes.
And then it was taken to all these different countries, Brazil, America, and all that stuff. So that's,
and it's that same idea of is if when you're, it's like I've read some books on Buddhism, and Buddhism, it was what? Chinese, Sanskrit, Japanese, Chinese. You have multiple, come for me, YouTube. Sorry, don't do that. But there's so many, things are lost in translations.
Exactly. Yeah. I have a friend who's Buddhist, who's from Vietnam. So her Buddhism is different from my other friend that's from a different part of Asia. Yeah, is exactly. There's some things that are lost in translation, but the core beliefs are there. But then, sometimes they can't come together to agree. But we do know that, that there's an overarching umbrella. Yeah, so I did definitely agree.
And I would say, people, if you have questions, put them all in caps. But and I know from watching some things, you've actually gone right to the land of where this was. I don't know how to say where it started.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah, I know. I mean, okay. I love it. Well, that's where I'm from, Gerald. Boom.
I'm initiated. I'm actually an initiate.
I love it. She just gave me my own fan thwart, people. I love it.
I like that. Can I see that fan? That is cool. Why did you show me that? Now I want that. Tarot. That is so cool.
So
that is amazing. Yeah, I'm actually an official initiated like person of like crown, like you were saying, the crown initiated. Okay.
And I want to know who you're crowned, but you don't have to tell me. That's your private.
Yeah, you can. No, it's not like I said. The variation, the difference between the like Jamie was just talking about the community, right? I could literally take you to West Africa tomorrow, and they could have a festival for Obatala. They could have a festival for Olokun, and you could literally just join because it's just a party.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, there's nothing going on. It's like a secret society. But then we're laughing. But the other variations in the Americas, they don't like that. You can't just show up at their stuff.
No.
You got to be invited. But us in West Africa, we're not really like that. So there's not as much secrecy on the West African side as people think. So people see like the Lukumi and the Santeria people being very secretive, and they think that's the way we are in West Africa, but it's not, because again, it's about community,
And Beth had a question. Aminat. I highly recommend The Dove Keepers by Alice Hoffman about the Roman march toward Masada. Okay, wonderful book based on that history.
Yeah, I like learning about religion. I literally was just researching, I don't know why, Christian the origins of Christianity for the past week. I've been listening to this lady on YouTube. She's actually really, really good.
Yeah, I love it. Spirit is free. Yes, yes, it is.
Yes, that's exactly.
And Pamela Batchelor also agrees. She really did travel there, Gerald.
Yes, she snapped you in the forehead.
Yeah. You just got back from another trip.
I did, exactly.
And I remember, I think it may have been on Amber, Lavender Moon's channel. You had talked about traveling, and it also may have been on Oya's girl, Queen Aset, when you were talking about you had one more card to finish for this, and you weren't getting enough information.
And I go there and I would go there and I would sit, because part of that, a lot of the design, that's why a lot of people feel the power is because if I'm not satisfied with the way the design is coming out, I would literally just go there and I would go speak to a priest, or priestess of that tradition who's been in that vibration, and I would sit at their feet and I will have them explain. And then eventually, like you guys were talking about, you feel it here. Yes. And then you just get that moment like, aha, okay, I have it now. Okay, cool. Now I can design it. And it was also a good way for me to go back home, because I hadn't been home in such a frequent way ever since. And it was such a good thing that happened, me designing this Oracle deck, because prior to that, I don't think I had been to Nigeria in about 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So because I started designing it like in 2020, I started it officially. It made me go home on a more frequent, I was going home every six months, which turned out to be great. It's very grounding. It was just great.
On a deeper level too, you were going home.
Going exactly. Coming home to yourself.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And Joe said, I want this level of investment in all my future.
I appreciate that. Very intense. I'm a Scorpio, Joe. You know how we are. It's all in. Joe, I'm a very intense person. You don't understand.
Yeah. Peter J. Watts said, good thing that Julie gets her information from dreams. We couldn't afford that amount of travel.
I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
Just true, exactly. Can you imagine when you get a dream, Peter, if you got a dream about, some remote country, and then you travel to the country, and then you got a dream about New Zealand. Oh, I'm gonna fly to New Zealand.
Yeah, and Julie's giving a thumbs up for that. Yeah.
Julie did the same thing. We had the same experience, and that's why it was such an amazing thing for me to follow her in the first footsteps, because I honestly really did. Because if it wasn't for me watching her, you talking about you were stalking me, I was stalking her for years. For real. Like, I literally just was watching her and how she maneuvered and how she manifested and how she, when I'd never seen another Oracle deck creator do what she did. So I literally patterned myself after, because she did the same thing, right? She had the dreams. She traveled to Egypt. She would travel here. She talked to this person. So yeah.
I'm just going to pop this up. We continue to talk. I'm looking for if people have questions, but what are some of the traditions that are most beneficial for you?
That's a really, really great question. The one tradition that, what really surprised me when I started interacting with the priests, because again, because of the creation of this deck, I had to have a divination done. At least I used to do it like every 14 days, just as a way to check in to see what am I doing, and as a way to fix my life as well. One thing that would occur consistently when the divination was done is forgiveness. Would always come, self for forgiveness. And I was really surprised at that. And I was like, what is this, Christianity? No, but they really, the messages from spirit and, the Orishas will always be, you need to forgive, let go, grant that situation grace, be the bigger person. There have been instances where people have stolen things from me, and I was ready to just fight, and I'm ready to say, yeah, they're wrong. And, the divination was done, and they just said, let it go. I remember the divination was done, and the priest told me, he said, even if people take something from you, you have to let it go. You can't force them to give it back. But if you owe somebody something, you need to make sure you pay them back And I'm like, that's not fair. What the? What is
Because that doesn't serve you, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, it is really beneficial. And another one that was beneficial to me is the study of the spiritual head, the reverence for the head, the physical rituals that we do for the head. Like, you know, one of the priestesses, one of the rituals that we do is to wash our head with coconut water. You have to try that. It's the most amazing, and it's just amazing. It's like you're feeding your head.
Yeah.
You're like holding your head. You're just, you know, appeasing your head. And, you know, we wash our head with coconut water, and then we tie it with a white cloth, and then we go to sleep. I'm telling you, you will get the best sleep you've ever had.
Wow. Jamie, did you have a question? Did Jamie, you have a question? You were writing something down.
Oh, no. I'm just writing these little things that are
writing these
right out of, yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, and you know,
Peter said I stalked her as well.
Yeah, I know. It's like I stalked her as well. Of course,
I used to stalk your wife, Peter. Seriously, it was crazy.
Yeah. Joe said the woman who painted the Weaver's Oracle did that, dreams and visions, and then went to different
communities around the world. Yeah, it's so grounding. It's such a grounding. It's grounding and it's humbling. And you know, the amazing part about these people was, even with Julie, it's like when you approach them, they don't dismiss you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not dismissed like, who are you? What? You had what about what and where? Get away. No, they just take you on and they're like, that's really interesting. This is, and then they will lead you, and you just, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel seen.
Yes. Oh, so very important. They make you feel seen. And Julie said, I have to tell you, Aminat, your deck is helping me go back in time for this procession oracle deck.
I'm working on now. Yeah. I'm getting myself together because, you know, I just came back from Nigeria, Julie. So yours and Peter, I've seen some of Peter's work. That looks amazing. So I need to get that, and I'm getting ready for yours as well. That's going to be incredible.
Jezri said, it took me a long time to learn that. And if I'm honest with myself, depending upon the situation, I'm still learning. So forgiveness is hard.
Forgiveness is hard.
For yourself.
For yourself. Exactly. Tell me about it. That was one of the, you know, when I would go to the divination, it was just come up, and it was really getting annoying because I'm like, what is this, Christianity? Because I wanted the meat. I wanted, you know how, Jamie, I wanted somebody to say, this Orisha is saying this. You know, you want something, you want something dramatic, like Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
You know, like, hand me this amulet and I can control the world. No.
It doesn't work that way.
Was, you need to forgive. And I'm like, what is this?
Well,
the end, it was really the best thing. It was
yeah.
the best thing.
And I think also is when you forgive and you release the power, then the issue is taken care of. It's resolved.
That's it.
They take care of it. Because when you're attached to it, they can't do what they need to do.
Right.
So
oh my God, Jared, that's Orisha. That's what you just said is, yes, that's it. That's what actually one of the priests said to me. Because I was really kind of getting annoyed. I was like, why does this keep coming up? They said, because you're so attached to the past. In my case, being attached to the past and being attached to the wrongs that had been done to me, spirit doesn't have the space to come in between that to fix things and to make you and to help you heal, because you're hanging on to it like this.
Yeah.
And that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
Thanks.
It's interesting to me because as I'm sitting here, you know, because I'm talking, where I come from is a space of community and feeling connection and stuff like that. And as we've talked about different cards, what I have laid before me is like a family, which is interesting to me because I didn't say anything, but this is the card that I pulled out as Roxanne's father.
Oh, that's my father. That's my father.
Yes, I know.
Crazy.
So now I have this family laid before me, and it's pretty powerful, honestly.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the 4 people that have made an impact in my life in the physical. That man, you know, and Julie's work. you know, and my godmother. Like if somebody asked me right now, if it was like giving my last, those are that have made an impact, that I had an alchemical deep cell to the cellular level transformation.
Yeah.
Like him, especially card 8, you have no idea. That man, he was like, I don't know if you guys have ever met an actual sage. Like, you know, in the movies, like Luke Skywalker, all that stuff is real, because that's what he embodied everything. He was the wisest and the most patient person I have ever met. You know, and I used to ask him so many questions. And then one day I said, you know, I hope my personality isn't too much. I hope I'm not too much. I know I ask a lot of questions, because I used every day we used to talk. He said no, because he understands me, because he knows that this work I'm doing, I really was supposed to start at age 16. He said, he said, when you look at the divination and the life path, you guys, you know about astrology, right?
Yes.
So in the Orisa tradition, when a child is born, they will do a divination when that child is born. And it's very similar to an astrological chart. And the divination will map out the life. So he was like, my godfather told me, he said, your life path, according to the reading, you were supposed to start this work at age 16. Now I think I was 28 or 27 when I met him. He said, so what the reason why you're so passionate and you're so impatient and you want to learn everything is because you're catching up. It's because your spirit is trying to catch up, because you were supposed to start this deep study into this thing from age 16. But because of this physical world that we're in, so circumstances, you know, that was cut. He was the wisest person I've ever, he was the wisest person I've ever met.
I love it.
Come sit down beside me and close your eyes. Reach out and take my hand and let's go someplace.
Wow, oh my God.
Yeah, it's intense.
Wow. Intense. That's exactly what he did. That is, I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, it's intense. On this side of the camera, let me tell you, it's intense.
It's intense here. I don't know about all of you.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. Like I said.
Because that card, you know, oh my God.
Yeah.
Whew, that card was hard to design. The card 20, the one with me sitting, it was very hard for me, because I had to reveal, I had to go back to that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. For me, it's even though this is about you, right? But when sitting here with these cards, it's about me, and I'm with that little girl, right? And I'm needing that hand. And it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's
amazing.
Ooh, Jamie just hit me in the heart.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's why, you know, Jamie, that's why it was so important when I talk about Julie, you know, a lot, because when you come from that chaos, right? And you come from that space of not being seen, not being heard, anything that comes out of your mouth, people are like, what? Go sit down. That doesn't make any sense. And then meeting, because I met her first before I met my godfather. I was very apprehensive about just emailing this woman, and she's gonna be like, she's not even gonna listen to me. She's gonna think I'm crazy, because that's what I've heard, the white noise.
Yes. Sure.
All my life. And that's why it's so important, that community and that kindness, because if it wasn't for that connection she made, and she just made me feel seen. And she didn't even know that, just from answering a random email and from giving her time. And that gave me the thing to say, okay, maybe what you're seeing and feeling is not just what everybody else has been saying, that chaos of that, you know, pool of dirty water. There is something that is in you that needs to come out. That's why I talk about her so much, because my interaction with her really was that life changing. Because prior to that, I didn't feel anybody listened to me. I didn't think anybody was interested in anything I had to say. And then when I met her and I had that, you know, affirmative experience, and then I met my godfather, and then it really came into, you know, the 3D.
Well, you realized I can.
That's it. And you know, that kindness, and that goes back to what is this tradition? It is kindness, and it is community.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Julie agrees. Ms. Tarot D asks, does Aminat have a favorite card and why?
I think that card, you know, that Jamie just what is it? Is it 26?
35.
35, sorry. So the card name is Imo Doye. So Imo Doye just literally means knowledge becomes wisdom. You know, so it was the hardest card I had to design because I had to use me and I had to expose myself to people I don't really like, you know, doing that. And the picture that I used, who was the person that asked that question?
What's the name?
Okay. Yeah, Miss. So yeah, the picture that I used was one of the only pictures I had, you know, from growing up, because my childhood was so chaotic. Like, I just moved. We used to move like every 6 months. I don't even remember parts of it. And my brother just happened to have that picture, and it was this picture where it's like really blurry. I'm sitting there, and my eyes are closed. It's literally, you know, when you take one of those pictures and your eyes are closed, you didn't even see me properly. And I was like, that's what I have to use. So when we came to that card, I said, okay, how am I going to design this? And I looked at that word. That's an actual ancient Yoruba word. And I said, yeah, this is you. Because all the knowledge that I have, that I've acquired, even in the failure, I transmuted it into wisdom. And that's why I'm sitting with you guys. That's the whole point. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's how Jamie knows who I am. That's how Gerald knows who I am. That's how everybody knows.
And that's how people who are watching this back will know you and be impacted by you too.
That's it. So that will be, Miss Taro, that would be my favorite card. And it was hard. It was very difficult because I don't really like going that deep, but I can't put out work like this without exposing myself.
Right.
You know? So yeah.
Yeah. And because you were brave enough to expose yourself, you've made it okay for other people to be seen.
Exactly. And I've made it okay for me and Julie have made it okay for creators to share.
Yes.
You know, two different people from two different cultures, two different areas of the world. And there's no fear. There's no apprehension. I'm not going to offend. There's, you know, and I think that's like the most important thing.
So for me though, I know we kind of touched on it in the beginning though, but for me, you just in the moment made it okay for them to be my family.
Ashe. Yes.
Yeah. Ashe. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Whew, tonight
the hardest card seemed the hardest card seemed to end up being the best cards. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Julie, do you remember when I sent you that email? When I sent Julie an inbox on Facebook, I was like, Julie, these cards are coming alive. Because I didn't know, because she said it on her blog, like when she was painting one of the cards, the scenes will come alive in her life. I'm like, what is she talking about? That's not possible. This is like years ago. I remember this, you know, when she was designing Journey into Egypt. She was like, when she would paint certain scenes, the scenes will play out. And I'm like, that's not possible. Yes, it is. Yeah. And I saw the inbox. I'm like, oh my God, these cards are coming alive. It's so crazy.
Awesome.
Yep. And Julie remembers that.
Yeah. Because I used to talk to her all the time. She knows me. I used to send her inboxes all the time.
Yeah. This is an important thing that I'd love to find out from you for your ideas. How would you encourage people to get to know Orisha and honor them respectfully?
I think just sit with yourself and sit with nature. You know, the first part about it is you have to trust yourself, and you have to, you know, just know that you are an extension of nature, because they are an extension of the grand architect, because that's who Orishas really are. They're forces of nature. So to honor them, you just sit, respect the nature. Like, I don't litter now. I can't just, when I'm walking down the street, I don't throw things on the ground. I can't.
Not and survive. You would probably get slapped upside the head immediately.
You know what I mean? Because I have this respect, and I know, because I know the Ile, we called the earth herself is a she, and you know the ground is a she, and she is a sentient being. She's a living being, so I can't just disrespect her by throwing things on the ground. You know, so yeah, you know, just small things like that, because that's what they are. Just think of them, they are forces of nature. So whenever you honor water, whenever you're happy, you're grateful for water, the flow of water, whenever you are, you know, you just honor anything that is in the nature, you're honoring Orisha. And don't forget, your head in and of itself is an Orisha as well. So you have to make sure that you're honoring yourself. That you're being kind to self, because you yourself are a Orisha as well, because your head.
Well, yes, and my exposure to Orisha has been when I have learned something new. I adjust. I adjust because I want to. Because now I have more information.
Exactly.
It's it's not work per se. It's not hard. It just takes some attention.
Precisely. It just takes attention, and then shifting the attention to the present. You know when we talk about in spirituality, grounding, feeling the feet. It's the same thing. That's what you're feeling. The vibrations that you're feeling, bringing your attention to that present. That's what you're. Yeah. That's the energy that you're feeling. You're feeling the, you know, because when you breathe in, like if Queen Osset was here, she would talk about Oya, because Oya is one of the Orishas. Oya, she is the Orisha of the wind. So when we talk about breathing in, that's Oya, because she controls the wind. And she's here, you know, she's necessary. When we talk about Ogun, you know, Ogun is is Mars, right? Is the archetype is Mars. You know, people always attribute him to like war. He's this masculine, he's this and this that. But do you know he's also the blood? He's also the blood that runs inside of you, because iron and blood, for the blood to flow in the human beings, in the human being, it needs iron. Iron is what carries. Iron is what makes the blood strong.
Yes.
The electricity in your body that's animating us right now is Shango. You know, the water, you know, they said human beings is 70% water. We are. That's Oshun. So when you think about them like that they're you. Yeah. Doesn't matter what color you are, because that's the forces of nature. Water is water, right? Yes. So
yeah. Wow. Wow. I'm going to take a sip of water because, you know.
Yeah. Linda, we don't care about that. Nobody cares about cultural appropriation. That's just some I think alternate, you know, that's just for trolls who don't have anything better to do, who try to intimidate you. You know, you got to just push back. You got to, you know, if you know you're coming from a pure space and you're honoring the culture, there's no reason for people to get intimidated by anybody saying cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's well said. That's well said. Wow. Do people have questions? Because I don't want to keep you all too long. Because
I'm fine.
I can talk all night. I have other notes about some of my experiences, but this is
bring it up. I'm for it. I'm
experience. So
I think some other chats. I missed some of the. Did I miss any of the comments? No, it's okay.
No, there was some conversation about
precisely. We've had it. Yeah.
You know, the Orisha tarot and then the tarot of the Orisha. They're two different decks.
Yes.
And Chris from Elemental Cartomancy, he is very interested in the stories associated with different faiths and different practices, and so he really likes that one because it has a well-written book, and because I'm sure most of the traditions are passed down orally. It's an oral tradition.
Indeed.
So, and I think there's a beauty in, and how do you capture all of this in an image.
That's what symbols
You can't.
is important. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, and I love that idea of, you know, you just saying, go in nature, sit in nature, and pay attention and listen. And I would even add to that, talk to nature.
That's
But
it.
then if you say something, you need to listen, because sometimes, I don't know about anybody else, but my experience has been, oftentimes I will talk so much, I won't stop and listen to the answer.
Mhm.
And
So,
and you know, to add on to that, a good way, an official way to engage with Orisha is dream work. And I didn't realize how important it was, because I always dismissed my dreams, because growing up they were never really affirmed, right? So
mhm.
I'm a dreamer. I could sleep right now. I could take a nap for like 30 minutes and I would dream something. I would go off somewhere. And even my godfather card 8 was the one that, again, that made me understand myself, because he said what it is, your soul, you are a soul traveler. Your soul came here, you travel. When you sleep, you go all around the world, right? And that's just the way you are. And when I would notice, and even after he passed, and I would go to my other teachers, when I would say my dream, they would really pay attention. Like my godmother, I remember last week I had a dream about her, right? And it was raining. And I do dream interpretation because I do the symbolism. I think I'm very well versed in dream interpretation. And when I called her, I say, "Oh, I had this dream about you. I was in Nigeria with you and it was raining. That's a good sign because I know." She was like, "Okay, but I'm gonna go to my elders, because even though she's older, she has to go to someone to do divination to check." Do you know she took a special trip that weekend? Like an hour.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Seriously, she took my dream. She
I
never
love
said, "Oh, okay. Oh, that's cute." No, they take it. So dream work is actually a key. If you want to connect with Orisha, dream work is key. And that is noting down your dream, looking at patterns, researching, and just taking them seriously.
Yeah. Jessica asked, how can you remember your dreams? Do you have any suggestions on that?
For us, like for persons like me and Julie, I think that's a really hard question, because it comes to us really naturally.
Right.
But I do know some people don't remember their dreams. I've heard that mugwort is really good. I don't know you guys, because me, I remember my dreams, and then naturally I was born that way. I'm so engaged in the I'm so engaged with the spirit world that as soon as I open my eyes, I just go back to the last scene. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's also practice, but it's also it. Who are you crowned? Did you answer that?
No.
Yeah. So I'm initiated into Ololokun
Okay.
card 39,
Mhm.
and then there is another spiritual pantheon called Egbe, but it's very complex. That's like our astro soul group. But they're not necessarily Orisha. I don't want to confuse anyone. But that's the main one. That's the main, one. And that particular deity is, works with dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dreams.
Very interesting.
But I've heard, to the person who answered that, I've heard mugwort is really good. The herb.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I do dream, I dream it. Me too. I always dream in black and white. I always do. Sometimes I would see color when I'm lucid dreaming. And then another thing that I found, you guys, I find that when I have a dream around 5 a.m., between 5 and 6 a.m., I find that those are my most accurate predictor of the future. Like if I have a dream between 5 and 6 a.m., it's always a lucid dream and it's always in color. And whatever happens in that dream is actually gonna happens in the next week.
Interesting.
Okay, so I'll share this. This is one of my first experiences with Orisha. I was given the ability to attend a misa, and it's me. So I'm sort of open to a lot of things. I'll just say it like that. I was seeing deity that I didn't recognize, but they were very cordial, very nice. I was also seeing my deity as well. And somebody there, because my madrina, it's like our pantheons were playing together and introducing each other. They were having a cocktail party, getting to know one another, just saying hi, how are you, and all that stuff. And someone there said, the pantheon shouldn't mix. To which what I saw was all of the deity that were there sort of looked at each other.
That's it.
They looked at each other. It's like, no, we're fine.
That's it. That's exactly, again, you just hit the nail on the head, and you sound like card 8. You sound like my godfather. When I first met him, I've heard that. And you want to explain what a mimisa is for people?
A misa is it's like a seance. It's a spiritualism where information is shared. Spirits can actually come through
together, but it's not very formal. It's not like everybody's all sitting there and they're serious. It's fun, right? It's like a party, right?
It's a party, and
there's music, because he's entertaining. So people get the right idea.
There's music, there's entertainment. And when they're well handled, they're very informative, and it's not chaotic. It's just a lot of energy, and some people handle that well. Some people do not. And for correct me if I'm wrong, during the misa, because when we do our thing with the drumming and the singing, isn't spirit elicited by the drumming and the singing, right? Yes.
And the joyous occasion, right?
Absolutely.
And that's how, and you get people that are dancing, and then all of a sudden they go into trance, right? That's the same way? Yeah. So it's the same way for us. But what you were saying, that's really important, what that comment that person said, because that's the idea that I had in my head about, these Orishas, they don't get along. Do you know why that is? Because we don't get along as human beings. So what we've done is we've imposed our political ideology onto spirit. That's what my godfather card 8 said. He said, that's the political ideology that human beings, that's how they govern themselves. Because they separate themselves, he said, human beings, we all do it, color, race, Democrat, blah blah blah, xenophobia, all these things, right? Because that's the world that we've created. So we then, because we're very egotistical, we've superimposed that same ideology onto the deities, and it said that's not true. He said they all work together because nature has to work together, otherwise we would not be able to live on this planet. He said that.
And Beth Aspasia Rising said, "It's the drumming, always drumming." Well, and it's like, and Julie said, anyone who wants to limit people's spiritual growth is just manipulating the idea of restriction attitude.
It's a human. It's just what we do, and that's why spirituality, I think, was just ought to be
and
invented for us.
And I've heard drumming. It makes us feel comfortable because it reminds us of our mother's heartbeat.
Right. That's deep. That's interesting, because I have the deity of the drum, card 12. That's really actually interesting. I never thought about that. Because the drum, because who said is the drum? That was the same question I had. I said, why is he always about the drums? Because these cards, right? I will come up, something would just come to my head. Like how Jamie was just sitting there and she saw this pattern. It's the same thing. And I'd be like, why is it always about the drums? It's always about the drums. Why? And then I did research and I realized that we actually have a deity of the drum, and she is, of course, a female. And that is so interesting to what Gerald just said about that drumming being, reminding us of our mother's, heartbeat when we were in the womb. That is interesting. I never thought about that.
Okay, you want something else, Trippy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So you mentioned 12. That's my animal to call.
Wow. And that animal, that's very significant. This is a deer, right? That's a deer. Yeah.
Yes,
It's
Dad.
very significant to her. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you a story behind that. The priestess, I was very fortunate enough. So that's actually a real priestess, and that's her son in Nigeria. And their lineage, their family comes from that
I love
drum
that.
making,
Mhm.
family. And they told me that when the antlers fall off the deers that have died,
Mhm.
so the people then go to pick them up, and that's what they use it. They incorporate it as part of the drum.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Wow. You have another card, Jamie?
Nope. No. I'm still here. I'm still here.
So
Okay.
this is thank you. This was more than I could have expected, and
This is fun, Jared. Thanks a lot. This is actually really fun.
you're welcome. Well,
I-
and maybe sometime we could have you back for a deck casual about this, because this was about the Orisha.
Basics. Yeah,
yes.
just the very basics, introduction. Yeah, absolutely. This is really, really good. This was really good. That's why I like interacting with, the different people, because, the symbolism, because you notice I emphasize symbolism in my deck, right? And I put those symbolism in place, not to say these are West African symbolism and you must use the same interpretation that I put in my guidebook. You see how Jamie just sat there and she literally just came up with a different interpretation with those two cards that I never thought about.
Yeah.
Card 35 and card 8.
Yes.
I never even thought about, like, wow, yeah. And she literally just read me, because that I'm gonna get emotional again, but that's the effect card 8 had on me. He literally extended his hand in the dark, because I was really in a bad place. And he said, come towards the light. And she didn't know that. She didn't have that information about me, but she was able to read the symbols. I hope people really understand how powerful these symbols and these archetypes are. And that's my whole point of doing this whole thing, why I invested everything, because it needs to be said, because this political stuff that we do is just nonsense. So I wanted to bring the symbolism to the forefront, to give people the okay and the green light to say, look at these images. Just because I've designed it in a West African, and if you look at the card I have under the deck, I'm talking, and this, this is funny.
I love that.
Just because this is a West African face doesn't mean that Gerald can't use it, or he can't come up with his own.
Yeah.
I want you to be comfortable enough to say, okay, this card means something else to me, and I'm interested in it. And I really, really mean that, because that's what these symbols and these archetypes represent. They are beyond human political ideologies,
Yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Tarot D said, do you have a YouTube channel? And
I do, but I'm hardly on there.
So, but I think I linked your Instagram.
Instagram is the best place, but I do have a YouTube. If you type in the Iyami Oracle on YouTube, you will see. Sometimes I'm very inconsistent, because my work, I'm a massage therapist. It's really like, it takes a lot of my time. So I'm very not consistent with posting stuff.
And Beth asked, Amina, I'm fascinated by the idea that the politics of religion is due to separation. That's deep and reminds me of the politics added
to Christianity over the centuries. Yeah. Aspasia Rising. Yeah, because Christianity started off as a very small cult. It's very small. It was small. They were they were even oppressed themselves, right? And then the Roman state saw an opportunity, and they used it, and that's where we are now. And that's what human beings do. We politicize everything.
Yes.
We overcomplicate.
We overcomplicate. And so when we were watching you with Jonathan and you did our readings, thank you very much. Jamie and I were texting back and forth, and it's like, okay, how are we going to do this? Are you going to get it? And then I'll pay you to ship it to me, because, shipping
Oh,
is
that's why you
interesting.
ordered 2. Okay, cool.
Well, actually, I ordered 3.
3.
One,
I don't
one for Jamie, one for me, and one for Madrina,
Thank you. Okay.
who received it, and she was very appreciative of that.
That is so cool. Do you
And
guys want to give us a reading then? I'm not doing readings. I think you guys should give us. I think Jamie should do a reading for me.
I love it. Maybe we'll do that afterwards. But
Okay.
here's I will say and this is just me, because I am so fearful of not doing things the proper way. This is me overcomplicating it. I struggle with reading with this because I don't want to mispronounce the name. I don't want to get something wrong, but that's just me. I'm working on getting over that, because I think what they would do, I think what Orisha does is when I do this, they laugh at me and then hug me and then just like, go get a drink of water.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's it. You see what
So,
Jamie just did a reading, but you see how she just did it. It was effortless.
Yes,
because it's symbols. You don't worry about names and all that. Just let the symbols and let the colors, the positions, and the first thing that you feel.
Yeah.
So I had said to you, Gerald, about the pronunciation and things, but I actually had that moment when I was sitting at my table and I was going through each one and saying their names out loud, that I had that ping that said basically, okay, you're doing this in honor and we appreciate that, but you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
So I let it go and I'm not going to worry about it. I mean, I'm still going to do my best to pay attention, but I'm not going to worry about it, because I believe that my family that's before me is going to know who I'm talking about and who I'm talking to.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Beth asked, so I guess you found a U.S. publisher for the deck? Have you?
Not yet. I'm still, I'm just letting that go. That's one of the things where I'm just letting it, happen when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Well, I'm hoping things like this will help get this out for people to be able to look at it and appreciate it.
Yeah, for one thing I've said to everyone, I'll say it again to the community. I'm here to stay. This work is here to stay. I'm going to make sure, and this is the directive I was actually given by Spirit. And you guys don't realize the information that I got access to is just not easily done. A lot of people don't get access to the kinds of people that I got access to in the short amount of time. And to get these older people to speak sometimes it's like drawing water from a rock. Yeah. Like my godfather, I never told you the story behind that. It took me a year for him to get him to open up. A year, 1 year of being persistent, of me calling him. So these people, they don't like divulge as much as, as easily. So one of the directives I was given is, because I was able to amass this, this accurate information from these people, that I must make sure that this work stays on the market. So that's my job. So even if it's like 20 circulating at one time, even if it's 100, I have to make sure that it stays on the market. This isn't one of those decks where next year it's going to be out of print.
No.
Yeah. And then you're going to be seeing it on eBay for like 2,000. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's going to stay. I'm going to stay in this corner. So
I think that's great. Bye, Ms. Tarot D. And Jonathan said this deck is pure magic.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan. Yeah, I saw your comment about the cowrie shells. Yes. That's good. The next time I go to Nigeria, I will probably bring you back the ones that me and you were talking about.
So, is there anything you'd like to tell people last minute before we go? This has been amazing.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this, but the reason why I did my deck, because I know there are several Orisha decks on which are really, really good, and I've had readings from them, and they're very, very good. I wanted my deck to focus on the divine feminine.
Yeah.
Again, 16, 17, 18, when I came into the spiritualist realm, I was gravitated towards the divine feminine. I always something in my dreams as well. It was always about these women, giant women holding the baby, and these archetypes, these images will come. And again, because I'm so used to having a politicized existence, I separated that. I said, oh, that must be from that part of the world. So when I discovered in my culture that we do have a foundation of the divine feminine in the Orisha culture as well, that is often overlooked. Often overlooked, even in Nigeria as well. I had to bring that to the forefront. So I think that's what makes my deck completely different, because it focuses on that.
And yes, because and I've gotten myself into not a little bit of trouble, but with all of the ceremony that goes on, if you try, if you know, people were to try to do it without the female's help, you wouldn't be able to do a dang thing. Ain't nothing
Not one thing, nothing. And there's a story behind that. Maybe next time we go into that story.
Yeah. So, and Beth said, maybe ship a box of decks to stay with different people. I volunteer my place as you go on speaking tour in shops in the US for your deck.
That would be awesome if I could go on speaking tours. That's what I want to do. I would love to go on speaking tours.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I'd love to have you come to my Ile, but just saying.
That would be cool. So which Orisha are you initiated? Which are you crowned?
I am not. I'm partially crowned.
Okay, but, okay. So you started your work, which is a thing as well, because that's what happens in West Africa. Because so what happens for anyone who wants to know is it takes money to get officially into this, to have crown, to get the rituals for these Orisha. It takes money. Even in West Africa. So what used to happen would be the apprentice will then be partially, there will be some partial rituals, and what they did in West Africa was that you would become the apprentice for the Iya, for the mother of the house or the father of the house, and you will be working your way towards full initiation. So I definitely understand, but at the same time you're still accepted into the fold.
Yeah. Purple Elephant Deb H says, I've been lurking. I just wanted to say thank you to Aminat for the hard work and Gerald and Jamie for hosting. I wanted to add, every heart beats a woman's song.
That is so cool. Thank you, Purple Heart.
And Peter J. Watts said, we'll host Aminat as well as Beth. So, it's like, boom.
That is so. I have to get Peter's deck, because that's gonna be. I need to look at where it's at and if it's ready to be ordered.
Jamie and I are going to be chatting with Peter about his new book.
I've seen some of the images, and when I say they are powerful, there's something very, very animus. Those rock carvings in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right? That's what it reminds me of.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that. When is the chat?
The 20. Please hold. Let me check my calendar. Peter is coming on the channel on the 25th of April. So in 3 weeks.
25th.
So
I'm definitely interested, because I've been all over the place because of my work, and I just came back from Nigeria. But I'm in the group chat on on Facebook, and I was looking at some of the images. I'm like, this is cool.
I love it. Twisted Sushi knew when it was before I did.
I love that name, Twisted Sushi.
So, and
yes, Julie, I share.
There you go. Oh yeah.
That into existence.
So pardon me, but if you make it here and you're there, I am running there.
So. Man, that would be awesome. That would be a dream. You guys don't know. That would be awesome. That
would be a party.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Everyone, all of the links are below. And purchase responsibly, know your limits, and blah, blah, blah. But I think a big takeaway is go out in nature and connect.
Yes. And the Orisha is within you. Your head is a divine being, your spiritual head, that there is a spiritual manifestation of your head in this spirit world that is ageless. So honor the Orisha within you. And Gerald, just pull a card every day and just
yes, because I actually have this. This is it's part of my year spread. Quarterly, I pull, and I need to do it. It's a new quarter. So which of the Orisha is working with me for that quarter? So yeah,
that's a really good question. Actually,
so,
that'd be a really good card pull.
So yeah.
This
All
was
right.
fun. This was fun, you guys. Jamie, thank you so much. You guys made me emotional.
Well,
But
hang out for a second. We'll say goodbye to everybody, and
yes.
then we will. I'm trying to figure out my outro. All right, here you go.